Hey guys, Todd Durkin here. I'm with Vito Lafata. Vito, what's happening? I'm actually up in Santa Monica, California. I'm at a family function and we had a little break in the action, so I dropped my wife and 3 kids off at the 3rd Street Promenade, left them there to go shop and have some fun. And Vito invited me over to see his new place here, his new digs in Santa Monica. And man, it's good to be here. It's good to see your place.
Dude, it's good to have you, man. It's been a long time coming.
No, absolutely awesome. So, hey, a couple things I wanted to share today, and it's cool because Vito's someone I've worked very closely with for 5 years on several different levels. One thing I want to share today is I love studying success. I love studying significance. And I love studying how people got to where they got to and some of the best practices that they did. And one of my best practices and things I've always said, and one of my impact principles is that you want to surround yourself with people that empower you, that lift you up, that motivate you, that inspire you, that help you be your best. And Vito is one of the guys that for the last 5 years in his transformation of his business and his life has really done that. Not only have I coached him in my mastermind, but he's been in several different mastermind programs, invested a ton in coaching programs, everything else. And I'm going to have him share a little bit about his transformation. But I want to ask you about your story and your transformation as you look to create success and significance, even the power of a mentor. I remember when I was actually in the 9th grade, my father, outside of the football locker room, taught me if you want to be successful in life, that you had to have a mentor. So I immediately asked him to be my mentor, and he said yes. And ever since that day, he was my first mentor. I've had many, many mentors since then, and I actually still lean on several of them today when making big decisions or when trying to create some strategy and get to the next level on that. And now I have the opportunity to mentor and help a lot of other people, both in the fitness field and outside the fitness field as well. And Vito's one of those guys for the past 5 years. He's been in my mastermind group, and he's done some great things. As a matter of fact, here in his new I believe it's his 2nd apartment in Santa Monica, it's just awesome to see what he's done. So Vito, thanks for having me in your place and all that stuff. And when you talk about the impact principle of surround yourself with people that empower you, you live and breathe that. Can you share with our loyal listeners here today some of the transformation that you've undergone here in the last few years?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say, first of all, the funny thing is it starts back in, I think it was 08. 08 at IDEA, and I'm at your session. And I think you were teaching your boot camp, your boot camp, the whole boot camp thing, and I'm taking your whole thing. You know how you get everybody freaking fired up and going crazy. But then it's ending, you know how you're bringing everybody back in, you're bringing everybody to the bed. We're going introspective and all that. And I remember that was the summer I had just read Think and Grow Rich. And all of a sudden you start talking about, well, listen, hey man, I'm gonna be opening up in a mastermind and this and that. And I'm like, what? Mastermind, that's a concept I've been waiting to hear. I read about it. Does these things exist in our world still? Was it back then? And I don't even know if I waited for you to finish. I walked past you, got the application, went outside, finished that application. I think you stayed in the session to teach it back to back. You came out and here's my app. And I was just that was August, I think, 08 at IDEA. And then I rolled into the mastermind. And that was when everything kind of really started to shift.
It was funny, actually. I haven't heard that story in a while. I actually remember that because you actually hand wrote most of the time people type it up, you hand wrote it and handed it to me. I'm like, this guy really wants it because I remember handwriting. We didn't really talk about that.
Gotta stick out somewhere. But that's kind of I always still pick that day as a day that everything shifted. Everything changed because that's when I started to recognize I'm not alone out there anymore. And I was going through a bad buy. Actually, that was the year leading into one of the worst times of my life. I was going through a bad buyout. I didn't see my way through it. I remember just being in the office being I don't know how to see myself out of this box right now. And then just as being involved in the group, being involved with the people around us, the connections of everybody there, began to just open up my mind to being we don't have to do this alone when we're in our businesses anymore. And the guidance that I got and the roadmap that started to lay out and being just having that person say, hey, this is steps I've seen before. Maybe you might want to look at these. And that really just started to be okay, now I started a breathing room. I started to see kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. Once you can get past those day-to-day things that are those boxes holding you down, now you can step back and be all right, now I'm going from a mindset of I'm not alone anymore.
Right.
To now, how do I take what I just, wow, that changed my whole life, my whole business. How do I take this and apply it as a strategy to my life and my business?
Yeah.
And that's when I started to be like, listen, if that worked, I think investing in my education and in myself, that's where that ROI will come back every time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just began to literally put in a plan of success education. Every year I'm like, I have to attend this many things, get this many, whatever it was. And that's how it began from that. And now it's nice to say that being like 4 years later after bad buyout, just having to short sell my freaking house just to keep the business freaking open and going, getting $100,000 of debt on my back, off my back in this time frame, and now having 3 businesses, getting outside of like being able to just be, I get to be at my studio 2 days a week, be up here now, build an entire online platform, network marketing, all the other things that so many times you just don't know that you have all that creation in you,
right?
Because you're still stuck in there.
Yeah.
That's kind of been what the journey's been.
Well, I love hearing, by the way, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. If you have not read that book, read that book. It changed my life as well. Obviously, it changed your life. And it changed your life to take action, right? And I think that's the biggest thing today is Vito sits here today and he's been through hell and back. He's faced fear between the eyes and you punch it in the teeth, and that, and a lot of you out there, some maybe right now, are even facing a tough time. You're facing adversity. You're struggling. You want your business to be somewhere that it's not yet. You have a grand vision and you're not sure how to get there, what the strategy is. I want to remind you today in this short lesson, this impromptu video, is to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that empower you. That's an impact principle. I've lived it. It's one of the ones that are closest to my heart, is you really have to find people that motivate you, that inspire you, that can help you with your blueprint. And that typically comes through a mentor or a close advisor in your inner circle. Because I tell it to my athletes, I tell it to my teammates, I tell it to anyone in the industry, is you really are just like the people that are in your inner circle. How you think, how you act, what you do are, if you're like the 5 closest people, and you want to make sure you pick and choose those people very carefully. And Vito, it's not a mistake that what you've been through and how you've been able to overcome that, because you've taken action, and that's a huge, huge step. I want to ask you about, you shared recently with the Mastermind about your $14,000 roll of the dice example. Can you please share that? Because I think it's a great example for anyone listening today about that. It might impact them.
For sure. I mean, like, you're talking about having to take action, right?
Yep.
And I think some of the things that holds people back is that fear of, how am I going to take action on this? We played sports, so we come from, put my back against the wall, I want to come out strong. And I remember just being at, it goes back, the genesis of the story goes back to when we were at your mentorships, and you were challenging all of us to be like, get products, expand your business, do something. We kind of took that action, and we started to put them out in small ways. We were like, I remember being at your mentorship, and I offered one of my programs, and I did like 1,500 in a presentation. I was like, dude, I'm never making 1,500 in a freaking hour. I was like, this is game changing. How do I do this more? And I started like, this is a skill set that I don't have. I want to learn online programming and creating info products and stuff. So I sat back and I found this guy through another guy I follow, this guy Jeff Walker, and I bought his program that was like a $2,000 investment.
Right.
Back at the time, I was like, I don't have $2,000, but I was like, stretch. That's what's going to make you come out.
That's right.
And get past what you've ever done before. And put it down, rolled out. I was just like, I studied this course, this and that, made like $9,000 in a week, which I was just like, dude, this is changing the game. I was like, this is different.
Yeah.
Just kept at it. I finally get to attend this live event, and I go there, and I started to recognize that also in our industry, this is a trend that's going on. Info products, getting in the online world. And I'm like, dude, not a lot of people have this skill set yet. So I'm like, dude, I gotta master this skill set, because that's gonna make me an asset to people. And I was like out there, and as I'm going through 3 days of his course, I'm literally like, my mind is melting I'm like, this is a completely different world. And he announces his mastermind. And it was like, it's $14,000, pay all at once. And I was just like, God dang, what am I gonna do with that? I couldn't sleep the whole night. I just sat there reminiscing about I sat there and I just laid out on a piece of paper. I'm like, Okay, but if you roll out a product and you do this and you've done this before, you can maybe make that back in about 3 to 4 weeks. So you willing to take that gamble to say 30 days before this credit card's due, put your back against the wall and come out fighting that way? Woke up the next day and I just turned to them. I'm like, listen, can you give me 7 days though so my credit card bill cycles one more time? So I got 60 days versus 30. That was I rolled 14 grand on my card. It was roll the dice, but I went back and I just simply executed on it.
Yeah.
And ended up doing 25 and paying that whole thing off plus popping the 9. And it's not about the money per se. It's about what does that do when you're just like, am I willing to invest that?
Yeah.
To then come out with assets you've never had, skill sets you've never had, so that you can go create what you've never done before.
Yeah. Well, I think, as you listen to that story of putting $14,000 on a credit card, it's easy to say ready, fire, aim. Right? Something I say all the time is take action, take action. It's one thing to say that, but when your back's against the wall and you have no money, or you're struggling in your business, or you're a trainer at a box club, or you own a studio, there are times where it's lean. And there's times where it's scary. It's times when you're facing fear and ready, fire, aim, or you want to take action, but you're just scared as heck. And it's not easy. And it took faith, I know. We've talked about this many times. And it still, as you learn to make those decisions and you see 2,000 or 9,000 and you start to see these increments, you start to get a bigger belief that, you know what? The people, a Jeff Walker or the 3 or 4 other masterminds that you're in, you're learning all these different types of information and your universe is growing. And I think one of the things you've done great is not only investing in other masterminds beside ourselves, but also in the mindset of abundance. And I think as trainers, that's one thing that we've got to make sure we flip the switch on, is it's okay to live in abundance. As long as we're giving back and we're making sure we do good things with any profit that we make in our businesses, a mindset of abundance and ongoing learning and empowering, surrounding yourself with empowering people, that's all part of the formula for success. And that's one thing that you've done a great job with, Vito. My last question I just want to ask today is, and it deals, I think, with what we're talking about, but what do you think is the biggest challenge that people are faced with today when it comes to creating success, significance, and a story that is one that is a game changer, an impact story? What's the thing that's holding people back?
I mean, in some capacity or others, typically some level of fear or lack of confidence in themselves and the skill sets they have. Because we're all born with this unlimited potential.
Right.
But then we got to put that stuff into action to deliver some results. And that, back to what you were saying, building that belief back up. If we can get that belief back up, potential keeps exponentiating and we can keep on taking action. But it really comes down to, especially in this, like when I'm talking to a lot of people in coaching programs that I'm doing as well and whatnot, it's just, is it going to work for me?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, listen, I mean, I can lay out the entire roadmap, but you have to execute on it. You need the discipline to take the action on it and not worry about the failure side of it. The failure side is actually probably what you're going to grow from the most.
That's right.
And when it tie right back to Think and Grow Rich. Embrace adversity. For every adversity, to see an equivalent and greater benefit if you're patient and willing to look for it. I just think that what I find so many people is just they don't want to go through that thing, that struggle, that frustration.
That's right.
And instead, the only way through is to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
That when you got the mentors and the people around you, they're going to shorten that learning curve.
Right.
They're going to help you avoid a lot of those mistakes, but you're still going to face struggle. You're still going to face frustration. It's the fear of, will it not work for me? But oh wait, I've started so many things before, but yet I've never finished them.
That's right. No, it's awesome.
That's usually
I would say fail forward. Like you're making decisions that are strategic, right? You're not just making random choices. And as I highlight success stories today, I wanted to share Vito's story because I think it is a success story. 4 or 5 years ago, he was facing adversity. He was facing challenge. He was facing going through a buyout of a partner in a business. He did have his house foreclosed on. All the things that you could imagine, he's been there. So when you see Vito out in the industry, he's presenting now all over the place. There's a story behind everyone, and I always say everyone has a life worth telling a story about. What's your story? This is all about crafting your story. And Vito, I thank you for having me into your new digs. Congratulations on this.
Help build a house.
Well, you've created time freedom, money freedom because of the desire to get ahead and the action and most importantly, living by the impact principle. Surround yourself with people that empower you. When you put yourself in situations and surround yourself in the inner circle that helps you create your best you, and you are strategic and you work on your business and not just in your business, and you invest in programs and masterminds and mentorships, and you continue to take action to move forward, then you can create whatever your dream is that you want to create. So guys, thanks for joining me. I simply wanted to share Vito's story because to me it is a story of success and it's a story of significance. And next I want to hear from you and what your success story is and what your significant story is all about. Thanks guys, peace, God bless, we'll see you real soon.